Good afternoon, everybody. Today is July 24th. It's 4 p.m. This is the Lunenburg Water District Commissioners meeting. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, I messed it up today, John. Yeah. Now I know it can happen.
Anything can happen.
Minutes.
Yes,
Warrants?
John, I revised that other set and added at the end.
Oh, did I
What did I just see?
see those?
No, I didn't see them either. I don't know if they're around
Those are in
somewhere.
my folder now, huh?
Yes, they are.
Someone used to take care of this. Those are warrants.
I want to see something here.
Pass those along to you, gentlemen.
Just say.
While we're perusing through those, we'll go to the update on the Mass Ave water main replacement project.
Alright, so I'm sure you guys have noticed they're moving ahead pretty good.
Yep.
Temporaries, they got one side done with temporaries, now they're working on the
Yep.
other side of the road. Found an issue, the way the plans were drawn, they were supposed to connect to a hydrant. The original thought that the hydrant was connected to the feed line that feeds the school, which it isn't. So now we need to figure out a way to feed the school. So what we're gonna do is install a new hydrant, same location, but very close, but tie it to the school line. So that we can back feed.
Is that where they put that temporary hydrant right outside the school?
Near that.
Yeah,
Near that.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah. So that was the only kink so far was the trying to feed the school. So but other than that, things are going ahead. They're still on schedule. Anticipating starting to lay pipe next week, the 29th.
They still gonna start on Northfield Road?
Yes, I'm sorry. Let's maybe not start laying pipe, but starting to cut in, doing water shutdowns, cutting in hydrants, because they have to cut in 3 hydrants,
Yep.
and then that feeds the temporaries, and then they start laying.
Where are they crossing the road? Temporarily crossing the road?
Right at Northfield,
Okay.
they're crossing.
then
Yep, so
they're
that's gonna feed the
feed
right
up.
side, then the left side, they gotta put in a hydrant that's gonna feed the left side.
Okay.
So I see the temporary going, are we going all the way to Pine Street on Mass Ave past Canal Drive?
No,
I thought we were going just to Canal Drive.
yeah, just past it, because we gotta feed I think it's 2 or 3 houses after Canal Drive.
Okay. And do we have a main that goes by there now anyway, right? That's not fed up Arbor, down Pine to the trip to 1790.
Well, yeah, there's a main that loops around down Arbor, down Pine, back up Mass Ave.
Okay,
this-
so
we're gonna
that's
shut a
already a
valve off.
loop.
Yeah, so we're gonna shut a valve off and then, leave that fed from the temporaries this way. And, so
Because it seemed like they were going quite a distance beyond Canal Drive with the temporary.
yeah, it's a few hundred feet.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, it seemed, the congestion doesn't seem too horrible. I think we're gonna run into issues when the school's back in.
Well, that just for the bus time. I mean,
Yeah.
the beginning of the day, end of the day. Yeah, but usually we can keep 2 lanes going, Every time it kind of gets backed up.
I've been through there a lot in the last week, and it doesn't matter time of day, they're doing a good job keeping the traffic moving, so. Did you have more?
John has minutes in front
John's
of
got
him.
everything.
And the warrant.
I can only read 3 pages at a time.
Oh, hey, look,
Yeah.
it's okay. Take your time.
Was that the one that you had questions on?
Yeah, I just added that little bit at the end.
Yep.
with
Okay.
some comments.
So I think I already, did I look at this one? Yes, I looked at that one. that
Okay,
one.
you can have that one.
I looked at that one. So just the two.
I looked at this one
Yep,
too.
just those two.
Commissioner meeting, yep. There's
Mr.
that.
Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the minutes of June 26th, and what's the other one in your right hand?
June 10th.
June 10th.
July 10th.
July.
July 10th.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I need to say anything
Nothing.
else? Okay. All right, next thing we got is review proposed town's water supply zoning bylaw.
Wait,
We have a one before that, I believe.
Thunder.
really?
We approved the minutes, updated Mass Head water replacement. Oh, I'm sorry, sorry. I skipped that.
So we went out to bid, we only got 2 bids, for the funding.
Correct.
And basically the winner of it was Piper Sandler, for the 2.3 million, 4.5% for 6 months borrowing. So I don't think, I thought David had said they don't have to make a vote on it, do you know?
I would make a vote.
I was kind of thinking that just in case, but basically there's spots in here, if you guys want to pass it now, but I put stickies on all the spots that you guys just need to sign, and then I have to sign as the clerk. Just accepting it, and then I have to upload it and send it out.
Okay, so this is 6 months to the temporary borrowing, as we've been calling it. correct?
Yep, yes,
Okay.
for the Mass Ave Water Main
Okay.
project.
So, do we have to vote that?
I would make a motion, yeah.
I make a motion that, we accept the 6-month borrowing temporary funding for the Mass Ave water main project through, what was the name of that?
Piper Sandler and Company.
Yep, exactly that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm in too.
Good.
So hopefully the next time we visit this is the project
Is the bond.
is the project's done.
Yep,
We have the
and we're going
total,
for the
we go
full.
for the bond, and,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, hopefully interest rates drop a little bit, we'll see.
yeah, that was
Kind of
our
steady.
financial advisors' guys' hope is that after the elections and things settle, maybe.
You want us to sign this too, correct?
Yep, so each of you can sign.
Yep.
Yep, just make sure you sign, yeah, commissioners. Yeah, there's a couple stickies, so just make sure you, yep. Because there's a couple spots I need to sign as well. And stamp.
Okay, now anything nice, right? Ooh, that's a nice pen, Christie. Make that man back. Okie dokie. Moving on.
Now you can,
Now we can go to review proposed town's water supply zoning bylaw.
Do we have an updated copy?
no, I have not received anything, so I don't know if you guys wanna.
Christie,
Yeah, you
please
guys said you
sign it
just
for
wanted
the
to
green tag.
think about it.
Yes,
Sure.
please, underneath Woody's. Yeah, I haven't gotten anything new changes, and I wasn't sure if we would, so that's why I wanted to put
Okay.
it on the agenda if something came up, but.
So,
When's the next meeting for that?
the
It was
22nd or
August.
something to that effect,
Yeah.
where they'll be discussing it again?
23rd.
23rd, okay.
Is that, my understanding they're gonna vote on whether they're gonna send it
Nope.
then? Or is that just another public hearing?
That's just another public hearing,
And then they are looking to, maybe at a future meeting?
possibly.
It's in September.
I think they're looking at closing everything out and having a decision by the 21st,
Okay.
23rd, and then from there, they would then submit it for town warrant.
Okay.
And then there's another public hearing process as part of the town warrant process.
So we would need that to submit to DEP for review before the 23rd,
That-
right?
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Oh, they submit it to DEP.
They
Oh,
have to.
okay.
It's nothing to
Oh,
do with us. It's
Okay.
all them going with it.
So
okay.
the planning board has to submit a copy of it to DEP, so we just maybe wanna follow up, see where they're at, and let them
Sure.
know that we need to have that.
Yeah, and then.
When it's done. It'd be better to have a document that we all agree on and send that to DEP.
Yeah,
And then, and also the Attorney General's tied to
Yeah.
that too.
Yep.
Which DEP's also been talking to them, so this
Right.
is
Yeah.
This is a well-discussed little thing.
I actually sat down and I watched that entire meeting again, just more for the verbiage of whatnot, of what the special permit is and who it's needed by, et cetera, et cetera. And the more I see it, the more this just doesn't make sense to have a special permit for this. That's just in their own wording. If you go back and look at what special permits are used for, I just don't see why this would be. Why would we need a special permit to do these things? Is just what I see.
I would
Yeah.
kind of tend to agree a little bit with you on that. One of my questions I asked myself was, does the town of Lunenburg, or does any municipality have a process that they have to follow where they're gonna require a special permit?
Right.
So, we're a municipality, so I think it's just, I don't know where it came from, and I just don't think that there's a need. I don't think there's ever been anything that would make us have to, that would say, hey, boy, I wish we had a special permit for that.
Right, and if you look at the things that require special permits, or I guess the reasoning behind why something would need a special permit, there's a lot of different reasons due to zoning, location, type of business, etc., where it just doesn't fit this agenda at all. It doesn't make any sense that the water department putting a water treatment plant would need a special permit putting it on their own land, more or less. It just
Well, we still go through the same process.
Right.
The only difference in the process is a one-person sway vote or something on something.
right, and
We still have to go through site plan review. So it's still it's the same process, but it seems to me, I don't agree with a special permit.
right. It just
You know, to me it's needless, or it's saying that they don't trust us.
Right, like I
don't
said,
know.
I feel, and like I said, in watching the words used again, the special permit is used for a business or something that might be frowned upon somewhere, or something to that effect. You know, like it doesn't fit in this location, and you know, I understand why it's there. I just after reviewing it, I just didn't see where it was. But you know, we'll continue to discuss this for sure, and see what more that comes out of it.
Yeah. How many meetings do we have before the next planning board meeting?
I think one
Yeah, I
more.
think only one, because
August
we have
12th is the planning board meeting.
That's the
No,
that's the
they're
23rd.
they're missing one in August because
And you said
the
it's-
chairman
it's-
isn't there.
August,
Yeah.
is it a Monday? So that's the 26th.
26.
26th, yep, so we will have one on the 14th.
I would maybe just let them know that we have another meeting coming up, that it would be nice to have some sort of a draft. We should have something before the 22nd, because if we have these discussions again on the 22nd, then it's gonna go nowhere. And
Yeah.
that's not this is not rocket science, what we're
just
trying
need
to
to
do
get it.
here. I think everybody knows underlying why we're trying to do it. It's not, it's to me, it's a good thing for the community, and it's long overdue, but I don't know.
All right, I'll follow up with everyone tomorrow, see if I can get some updates.
So you want a draft on everything else other than this one little section of the,
Well, I think they know our feelings on the special permit and treatment in zone 1.
so, all right, so we can pass that on, and we don't want a special permit, we want a regular.
I don't think
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like I don't see a reason for
I'm-
us to have a special permit, and if
I-
people wanna push it, then they can push it.
Okay.
And
I-
if the planning board wants to bring it to town and the town wants to vote it, the town can vote it.
All right.
But, you know,
I was just concerned about having a no vote and affecting the development, that's all.
I don't
think it
want
should.
to. I understand the whole reasoning behind it. The rest of it, there's gotta be, they gotta wanna try to work with us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay, so I will let him know if we have a draft.
I'll take a public comment on this subject in this
For the
movie.
rec building and getting engineering. So if I'm understanding correctly, the rest of the changes, this board is fine with. And they just would like to be able to do the work within zone 1 and zone 2 under site plan review only.
Correct.
Yes, which is really common and typical
Right.
across the board.
Yeah, there was other minor changes made to that, adding hunting or something like that. That's nothing. The
Yeah,
other
I think that we went through that.
yeah, we
Yes.
went through that the other night.
As long as the zone 1 isn't modified, I'm fine, you know,
Right.
with that.
Well, so some of the language, where does it come from? Well, DEP, their model bylaw is specifically relative to zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything about zone 3, and it's not anything about zone 1, for various reasons.
Sure.
So a lot of the language that's in there that was questioned originally was because of the fact that there were things just thrown in as we're gonna also include zone 1 and 3 in this part, and then once it starts getting looked at, it doesn't make sense. I think some of those things are the things that have been clarified. Obviously, what we're trying to do, our client and clients that we're dealing with are trying to be able to have the new bylaw permitted to allow more normal things that are allowed within zone 2 and 3. Present bylaw is extremely restrictive, and I don't think it's really being monitored, quite frankly. Because you couldn't build a lot of stuff that's being built in zone 3 under the current bylaw. Okay. So that's where the conversation happened a year or so ago when we started working with Adam Burney on this.
Correct.
Try to figure out how to make that.
That's the draft that we
all
all
agreed on.
agreed
Yeah,
on.
Yes, that was DEP's
Yes.
Right.
boilerplate for
And
the
then
state.
when the zone 1 got put into it, that's when everything started
Exactly.
getting a little bit out of hand.
If
Okay.
someone's got a copy of that one we did with Adam Burney, that was
That was it.
That was
Yeah.
We
so,
had,
like-
we had no problem because
Yep.
it was DEP's boilerplate.
right,
Right.
and it didn't conflict with any.
Right.
Anything I felt-
Like Bill's saying, like, it was specific to zone 2, and they say, okay, zone 1, and now it says zone 2.
Right.
Well, all these things are not allowed
Got
in
it.
zone 1, so it was just, but
I
now
understand.
it's all corrected, so I think, and now we took DEP's kind of boilerplate for the zone 1 stuff, and as long as that's in there, we should be good.
Right.
Okay, but I believe there was concern about changing any of the wording that is in the current Zone 1 bylaw.
Well, I mean, we changed quite a bit of it, but
A lot
I
of
think,
the wording within the current zone 1 bylaw is not applicable to the normal zone 1 requirements of DEP. So some of those things were being changed. Some of them were being changed, and some of them were being left in, but didn't really have any net effect on
Right,
what the
but
commission was trying to do.
that was, I know, the concern of a lot of citizens was that the Zone 1, that it remained, that it remains the same wording that was in there.
but at that last planning board, we went through all of them, and no one seemed to have any problems with
Correct.
it.
Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
I
And
think,
that
I
was
think we're
when the
good.
suggestion was made for a special permit within zone 1 and
Right.
in zone 2.
Right.
Okay, which I think this board is, I guess if the planning board puts it forward as a zone 1, zone 2 special permit, what's the repercussions from the water district at that point in time? I mean, it's a zoning thing. I don't disagree that it may not make sense, but it might be where it ends up. Okay, so.
They make the call.
Who?
What, the planning board makes the call.
They make the call on that.
We might not agree with it. We
Right.
could not
Support
support
it,
it.
but they
But they
make
make
the
that
call.
call.
Yep.
Right.
But it's nice that we're part of this. I mean, because the whole focus is to protect our water supply.
Correct. And to do
So,
it
I
in
mean,
a.
we should have the full, you
And,
know.
and I think at the last planning board meeting, we discussed what would be the parameters of the special permit, and it's really nothing to do with the process. Like it's the building and the landscaping around the building, the site drainage, the site parking, the site lighting, if any, it's a motion sensor thing for lighting, I would presume, if you would do stuff at night unless it's an emergency. Those would be the elements that would be reviewed under the planning board's purview, both under zone 1 and zone 2. So from my perspective, it's a pretty low threshold to both, it cuts both ways. It's a pretty low threshold to have to go to a special permit level, but it's also a pretty low threshold to meet the special permit requirements when you're talking about the permitting process. So if the board could live with it, that's, I guess, what I'm trying to walk away with, so that when we get to the planning board meeting on the 26th, if the board says, your board says, we don't want a special permit, but if that's the way the town goes, that's the way the town goes. Versus saying, and I know you don't want to support that part of it, I just want to make sure that you support the rest of it, because that's important, I think. I don't disagree with you that.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm not willing to shoot the whole thing down over something, one thing, disagreeing with it.
Right.
But I guess I would ask everybody in general, why would you make us name
that
a water
no one else has to
district
do.
or a water company or a municipality that has to go and get a special permit for anything they do within their community? And I'd be like, wow, this happens other places. But I understand the greater good of the whole thing, but, I feel like I don't agree with the process of the special permit.
So, but we could agree with Bill that we support the
We sup-
whole thing, except for this, we would not support the section where we need a special permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Fair?
Yeah, because what my concern is because of the timing of everything, obviously. We got the 26th is really good, so, what I want to be able to do is be able to go back to Richard Harris, the interim planner, and say, your board, the water district needs an updated version of it for their next meeting. And he's gonna have in there, I presume, he's gonna have in there the special permit. There are a couple other wording things that dealt with at the last meeting, which I think everybody's on the same table with, but I think having a clean final draft, and then it might be just special permit, question mark, site plan approval, question mark, so that everyone can discuss those two items, and we're not talking about other minutia within the
Sure.
overall project.
If you don't mind, I have a question for you,
Yeah.
Bill. So as this whole process started, I mean, you started working on the drafting that months and months ago, and it wasn't until Mr. Bursch went to one of the meetings that we finally even saw a copy of it. Can I ask why that, while this was in the beginning works, nobody even reached out to us and says, hey, we're looking to do some changes to the zone one. What are your inputs, thoughts?
I think I had quite a few conversations with Fran, I think way back when.
Way back when
Right.
Adam was here.
Right.
And then I remember they had a public hearing. I remember it was all Zoom.
Yep.
I went on the Zoom, then it was canceled because Zoom didn't work, which they got to get rid of the Zoom crap.
Yeah.
It's a public hearing, and if they have Zoom, if it's a side thing, Zoom don't work, go to the public hearing, But anyway, so it never happened, and then I never heard about any other ones, and,
It was basically,
What-
I'm just letting you know, I feel like it was like in the 11th hour, there was changes to this thing and nobody had contacted the water department.
We, at the last go-around, when this was going to town meeting, and the board decided that they wanted to have it basically pushed off to the next town meeting.
Correct.
Okay, right after that, we started, not right after, say a month after that was over, so that was May, so June, we started working on, okay, can we at least, we're trying to get the board to have a consensus in July and not be in October trying to get the consensus.
Understood.
So so I don't think there's really been anything that's been changed significantly since that time.
that,
I mean, we
right,
just
that's when we
started
started.
When they decided not to go to town meeting with it, that's where I was kind of shocked, because I thought it was, there were some simple changes in there. But then there was a lot more input from the public that was concerned about these specific things. And wording of zone 1 and stuff, like zone 1 and zone 2. So that's why they decided not to send it to town meeting. I kind of got the feeling when I went to the planning board meeting after town meeting that it took a little bit of convincing to get them to understand that it's not just us that this should go through, that this has to go to DEP and other levels. I didn't get the feeling that anybody really, when I brought that up, put any weight to it. And now we're finally, you know, they're starting to understand that it's not just us that needs to approve it. It needs to be approved at the state level on in a couple different offices. So I'm glad that we're finally talking on it and everything. But I think it did. It took a little push.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Bill,
No,
by any means. I just, you know, just
I'm okay with it.
it's
I try to be as transparent as I can on all the stuff we work with. But I think that, I don't think there's been anything that's really, the most significant changes have been coming in more of late relative to the Zone 1 descriptions more than anything. I think that's really, and then, you know, we had to go around with, where you and I sat down and went over some of the things.
Yep.
And I sat down with Richard Harris and the chair, and went through some things, and kind of got to the point where, matter of fact, that meeting was before our meeting, and I said, that's when I said, you gotta get this to the water district, because they gotta be able to review this before we get to the next planning board
Right.
meetings.
I mean, because the first
I don't think
version,
there's been any gaps. I guess that's where I'm at.
the first version we received was full of errors. You know, it just, I don't know.
But the most one was you can't build a tree plant Zone 1 or Zone 2,
Right.
Yeah,
which, yeah, that's gone. And,
Right, yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
So I think we're working forward
Yeah.
in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
We're moving.
Any other comments on that?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. We're going to discuss Hickory Hills well and options for moving forward with citizens groups.
Well, I think it was the clerk that last meeting actually brought it up correctly, and you know, see one representative here today, and I'm thinking to myself, like, who should we be talking to? And I know you've had some discussions with some
So I'll
of
give you
the-
guys a little bit of the timeline. So our last meeting, July 10th, John Fortune came in and read the letter to us. And I specifically asked at the end of that who we were supposed to talk with, so that it was clear for us, because wants to work with us, but then we get lawyers' letters. 2 days after that meeting, our legal counsel, KP, forwarded us an email from the Woodlands attorney that basically, which I've given you all a copy of, basically said that there were 4 main things that the Woodlands is requesting, and that we have to talk with him. So I called him the following week, left a message, and didn't hear back until yesterday. And I informed him that the district is very confused because 2 days before we received his letter, a representative came in, read a letter that was signed by Joan Pease as a representative for the Woodlands, saying that we needed to work with all of these groups, yet his letter is saying we have to go direct through him. So he said he was not aware of the letter that Joan Pease and John Fortune and Bobby Turkington had signed. So I forwarded that to him. He then responded, because I said, I just need to let my commissioners know, if you're going to come and meet with us, we would like to have our legal counsel present as well, or do the representatives just want to come and talk with us without legal representation? So I forwarded him the copy. He just emailed me back this morning and said, I discussed our conversation and your email below with my client, the Woodlands Village Condominiums. As I mentioned before, I do not represent any of the other parties on the letter you sent. Woodlands would like a written response from LWD to me as to whether LWD is interested in the Woodlands support in reactivating the Hickory Hills well under each of the 4 provisions listed on the second page of my July 10th letter. If LWD's response is favorable, we can then talk about setting up a meeting. So in my conversation with him, he basically said he wants our response to the 4 things listed on page 2 of his letter, stating, talking about that the passive recreation area remains, that any new treatment facility is not located in the Zone 1, that we accept full financial responsibility for any damages caused by the Lunenburg Water District, and that battery-operated golf carts are to be allowed in the easement area as the LWD superintendent agreed to several years ago. So.
I can discuss all these.
Yeah.
I know fully about that one.
Yeah.
So I just received that today. So I printed all this stuff off for you guys. I spoke to him and I said, you know, obviously I am only the clerk. This is just in conversations that we've had. It is my understanding that we have always said we wanted to work with him. I mean, I even found old letters, I think I put it in there, that we sent to Hickory Hills back in April, you know, saying we want to work with you, and every time we do, we get lawyers' letters back. So we're just trying to move forward. And he said this was his response. So it sounds like whether we type it up, whether we have to pay legal fees now to have our lawyer type something, I don't know.
I think the guy should come in here and meet with us,
Well, I mean,
the attorney.
in kind of talking with each of you separately and sending you guys the letter, you know, it was, do we, because I mentioned to this lawyer, you know, I said, it's my opinion, you know, you're talking about golf carts in Zone 1. I said, but we can't allow that. That's against, my understanding, against the law for Zone 1.
None of that is allowable.
And he said, well, the district has their discretion or something like that. So I hate to keep having to pay our lawyer fees to have them here, but you know what I mean? I don't think a citizen is going to be able to argue with a lawyer. I think if it's going to go lawyer to lawyer, but I hate to keep paying fees for.
Let me tell you my thought about the whole thing. First of all, the 4 requests.
Well, all right, you know what?
Now, let me finish.
Can we talk about the 4? Can we go through them?
Okay.
Do you wanna do
But
that?
Yeah. But as far as keep on emailing and write letters to this guy and the law attorney, let him come in here. Let the Woodlands spend their money instead of us spending ours. If they want to send us letters and give us lawyers' letters, let the lawyer come in here and sit down and explain what he's talking about, and we'll give him our response right here without paying any attorney anything.
So,
Which I kind of agree. I mean, I think Fran can speak to a lot of this without probably having to
I mean,
have
we've
a lawyer
gone over this.
present.
We've
There's-
gone over this for 2 years. We know what's going on with the easement and what the attorney's going to say. It's just just a waste of money.
So I'll leave it that his email, what I just read to you guys, is asking for some type of written
some type of a
response.
So
So-
I guess we have to respond to the 4 items here.
Is what he's asking. He said if we respond
Favorably, then
favorably,
they'll come talk to us.
then they will talk to us. So
Well, hell with them.
So,
We're not going to respond favorably.
no, I mean,
It's-
I think we have to look at each individual
I
item
would
and
like to
get
go
our
through.
feelings on it.
Let's
Okay,
let's do it
let's
one at
do
a
it.
time, okay?
Let's do it right now.
All right. So the first one is this is a Woodlands Village passive recreation area remains. Two longtime residents can testify it's been there forever. Okay. Thanks for testifying to that. So the Woodlands passive recreation area. So in the Zone 1, passive recreation is allowed. You can walk through it, bike, jog, you know,
That all
that,
stays.
We have all those definitions in the bylaw,
they are
correct?
Yeah.
well defined as to
In
what
the
that
bylaw,
is.
Right.
Nobody here is ever looking to infringe on any of that. I want this just to be as the zoning bylaw already states. Period. Passive recreation is allowed.
Very simple.
It's so I think it's important here that like there is a legal document that enforces the Zone 1. It's not up to us to pick and choose what
And
we
here
want.
it is, right here in my hand.
What we want to do with that. It is our obligation to enforce the Zone 1 as written.
The
Does-
easement.
The easement, I'm sorry, the very
restricted
restricted,
to us by the
correct.
developer.
Yes, you're correct. Does anybody disagree with that?
No. I don't.
So, right now, somebody can walk through there if they wanted to actually even drag a kayak through there to get out to a different area. Whatever that, I don't know, what is passive recreation? Is
I
it-
mean, that one, that's the passive tour.
Yeah,
That's
right.
fine.
You can
That's
walk
your
through,
problem.
walk your dog through. It's like walking down a trail. It's passive recreation. In other words, you know, like you're allowed to do that.
And they talk about longtime residents testifying that the recreation area substantially in its present form. I think we have pictures from when we did that well, the beach was never there. When the well was
We have
not
pictures from
online.
1993, 94 of that area, and it's looks significantly than it does now. So that's a different discussion altogether. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you that right
Well,
now.
I know we should
okay.
come out and say that's not true.
That's
the first unit
right.
sold there. My brother bought it.
Right.
He knows all about. There's no beach.
Correct.
So no
So-
one. He was the very first person to buy a unit there.
Right.
Right.
So there you go.
So
And
that-
beach.
yeah.
Gone. There
that-
you go. That's-
Portion, the parentheses, is simply not true.
Right.
Passive recreation remains absolute. It's always going to have passive recreation there.
I
Okay,
agree.
that's how the easement is written, and that's so. We're in agreement there. Let's go on to 2. A new treatment facility is not located in the easement area. It is my intention, just my intention, and I believe the intention of this board is to not put one there.
Well,
Okay?
that's
I mean, it's been
the
our
last plan we
goal
came up with.
forever. I don't know if I could ever legally say that I'm going to write down that one would never go there, but I don't ever see us putting one there. I don't think it makes financial sense. I don't think it's the way to do it as we approached this last time. I'm more than welcome to
No,
other thoughts.
I agree. I mean, that's already been answered by our master plan and our intentions to treat Lancaster Ave and Hickory Hills in the same location, which is not that location.
But would you be willing to put that into an ironclad statement?
No, because someday they could make a treatment plant the size of this room.
Correct.
Right,
That's what technology is all about.
Right.
right.
So I wouldn't say never, ever, we
No.
would put one there. I'd say,
Okay. So I think we've answered that question
But the
too.
current plan that was proposed,
Right.
was voted down, was
Right.
that it wasn't going. It was going somewhere else.
Right.
I
so-
don't ever see us putting one there because it just
Unless it would fit in the existing structure that we have.
correct.
I would still support the plan that we had
I
about
agree.
going to Lancaster Ave.
We're going to try to make cost-effective decisions for the town when
Yeah.
treating water.
Yep.
And putting a plant right down there
Yep.
at this current time is not cost-effective. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
No,
But
it
am
won't
I
fit.
going to agree to never put a treatment, put that into words? No, I'm not going to do that because legally we have the ability and the right to do it now, and I wouldn't take that away.
no, I wouldn't
I would
either.
agree.
I
You know?
agree.
Okay. Any further discussion on 2?
No, so I guess drafting some sort of a response that through our master plan and our intentions were not to put the treatment plant down there.
Yeah.
That, our current position is that we would locate it somewhere else.
Yeah, our
But
current
it-
design.
Yeah,
I think the tough part with some of this, so you guys, he didn't say it exactly, but my impression, again, I can call him again and ask him specifically, but it's my impression after getting off the phone with this lawyer, is that it's almost like they want some type of legal agreement to all of this. And that if we even sit there, you know what I mean? And I agree with everything that you guys are saying. We'll put a letter together that says, we've always agreed on passive stuff. Yes, it's not our goal. It's and I understand, John. I'm just saying, so I think these are the
Here's
things
our
that we
legal
need to
agreement
send.
right here.
But I'm just letting you know that that was my impression, was that the Woodlands are looking for something that is gonna bind us to this. So I think this is where going forward, we're gonna have to have the conversations that we'll talk about all these things and we're gonna go over these things, but we can't do these legal binding agreements.
I'm not.
To tie the
I agree,
water
I'm not in
districts.
favor of that. If you look at, question 1 very simply, passive recreation. Whatever is allowed by the town bylaw, great.
How about the
Number-
DEP?
Number 2, well, the town bylaw is a little more restrictive than DEP, or allows more than DEP does in the zone 1.
I mean, with DEP, we go by the easement with DEP.
Right.
So
Yeah. So,
But anyways,
bylaw
that's
can
just,
say
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I know exactly but I'm all about giving them a response.
Here's,
Yes.
here's
Yep.
a question I posed to Fran at one point. Fran, if we need that water supply and we go down there and we go to turn it on, can DEP deny us because of the uses that are currently in the zone 1?
Yes.
So, in instance, what residents have done down there what assurances do we have that they're not contaminating the public water supply down there with the violations that they have in zone 1? I guess the easiest way is to say violations. I'd like to help them try to correct them, but not my intention to chase them down legally until it comes to that point, you know, but DEP is gonna tell us at some point that, you know, you can't use that water supply or unless you correct these things. So why not get ahead of it and try to correct some of these, because they're all violations. As far as DEP goes, as far as the town bylaws go. So they're in violation of town bylaws with uses in zone 1. John was holding up in their easement. There shall be no building or other structures of any kind constructed, reconstructed, erected, or moved onto the operation of the public water supply. Pretty simple, right in their easement. Be no mechanical or motorized equipment. A golf cart's motorized equipment. Be the cutting of trees or other vegetation within the easement area shall be under the direction and control of the grantee or its lawful successor. When they made the beach, they had to cut some trees. I've seen previous pictures. It's, you know, again, so that they've done things against their easement. They're in violation. And my concern is that when we go to use that public water supply, we won't be able to. So why can't we just sit down at the table and try to figure out, can we move the structure somewhere else? Relocate the beach to a different area. Golf carts, motorized, are they willing to take the liability on of contaminating a public water supply? Are they gonna assure us that for damages to a public water supply?
Correct.
So,
I mean, yeah.
it can go back and forth, and I think it coming to attorneys is ridiculous that we can't sit down and they're not gonna get everything they want, we're not gonna get everything we want, but our duty as elected officials is to protect the public water supply. I don't know where the thought process is, as long as you don't bother our beach or we don't have to move our kayaks or whatever it is. All that stuff happened after.
Right.
We've never, and I'll have to ask Fran to talk to the golf cart thing, but show us something in writing from the water district that allows all this stuff to happen. Show me even a beach creation from conservation.
You know, there's, if they're worried about their beach, I have a perfect solution for the beach. Move it over towards the houses where they dug the lake back. That's what they did. They made a beach.
What-
They just haven't put any sand in it yet, like they did. But I mean, you know, there is a solution. They just don't want to hear
There's
it.
gotta be something that we can do.
Yeah.
I don't want, to protect the public water supply. Because
That's what it's all about.
we're not using it right now, but there could come a time
Oh, that's
in the future.
a $15 to $20 million asset that we need to protect, because there was a lot invested into that well, and when it comes time to turn it on, we need it. And there's going to be a time.
The hopes are, I can understand that they're used to a certain type of living and doing certain things. But they have to also understand at the same time, we have to protect the public water supply. And there's gotta be something that we can work with them. But if we get into this lawyer letter back and forth,
Right.
and,
So-
right, sorry, your name, sir?
Hannigan.
Bill Hannigan, sorry. But, he said it to us tonight. He said to us, he's like, are you gonna not support this thing overall because of this one hitching point? No, because you know what, the zoning bylaw is for the greater good.
Right.
So we're not getting everything we want, and we might not get the non-special permit we might have to get a special permit. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. But it seems at every juncture, it's well, you can do this, but you have to do this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's try to meet in the middle, and there's no middle ground.
But how you gonna meet in the middle? The beach is there, the kayak's there, they're in violation of Zone 1.
We don't know.
Regulations.
Nobody's brought a suggestion to us or offered
Well, no,
for
but
us to
I'm
meet
saying,
down
the
there and
beach
say
is
what
either
we
gonna
do.
be there or it's gonna be moved. There's no
So yeah, but
middle ground.
There
as far
hasn't
as I
been
can
that
see.
middle ground
All right,
discussion.
so I'm going to summarize this up, okay?
Okay.
Because believe me, we could go after this for a while.
Yeah, I know.
I agree with the point of this whole thing here is that I would love it. Now, this is more specific to the Woodlands. If we could meet with the Woodlands, possibly do a site visit, discuss the obvious infractions that we have, and let's come up with a solution that, you know, everybody's a winner here. We have a public water supply that's protected. They continue to, you know, be able to enjoy their woodlands, and I mean, I understand, but if they want to work together, sending me a letter from a lawyer demanding stuff that is virtually impossible is that, to me, is not working together. If you send me a list of, like, if you don't do this, then, well, you know, we're not going to vote for you. I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, to me, that's like a quid pro quo, and I won't do it. I won't ever bend over that way, and it's not because of who it is or anything. It's because it just doesn't make sense for the rest of the town, for the public water supply. We need to protect it. Let's get on board. Let's figure out how to do this. This isn't that hard. This can be done simply in a half an hour conversation if we all want to get to it. So that's how I feel about this. There's no need to have friction over this. Let's just figure it out and move on. And as far as, you know, how it's been said, I don't like the tone of this letter saying that, you know, if you do this, the Woodlands will support, you know.
Yeah, the blackmail's what it is. That's all it is.
It doesn't come across very comfortable with me. You know, I got to tell you, like, I sit down here and I look at all these things in what we're doing, and I hold integrity to be one of the highest values of my life, and I'm not going to bend that over to try to do this so we can get some votes. If the people for the Woodlands want to vote for things for us, they should do it on the merit of what we're providing out there, period. And hopefully they can get through some of the stuff and the lies they've been told and just look at what it is. And that's all there is to it. That's how I feel about this. Okay?
Okay, do we want to go over 3 and 4?
Yeah, I'd love to. So number 3 is the Lunenburg Water Department accepts financial responsibility for any damage to private Woodlands Village roads caused by Lunenburg Water Department activities and activities of the contract in. Of course, if we put a new water line in anywhere, we're doing it now, we will fix what we have disturbed. It's standard practice in the industry. I'll sign off on that every day of the week. Okay? Number 4 is battery-operated golf carts can be allowed into the easement. As Lunenburg Water Superintendent agreed to 7 years. I know Fran's gonna like jump at the bit at this, but I'm gonna eliminate it, so you don't even have to talk about it. The answer is we can't have motorized vehicles into Zone 1 on this easement. Period. It's already written down. So I can't say yes to this when it's already written down that says we can't. So it's simple as that. Mr. Haney.
Question, is there a difference between, I mean, some of the golf carts that we've dealt with through our lives of going golf courses, is we have the gas ones, then we have the propane ones, and then.
Now you have electric ones.
Are they
Still,
all considered motorized
it's
vehicles?
all a motorized
All
vehicle. It's
motorized.
already written into a law that, and I understand, and I believe me, I tend to side with you on it, but it's already written down, and I'm not don't even have the authority to be like, I'm
So
changing it.
In my other businesses, I sell battery race motorcycles, lawnmowers, golf carts, side-by-sides. They all have oil in them. They all have gear trains. So the engine doesn't have oil, but there is still oil in the components. So
Once again, we could sit there and justify it back and forth, but we don't have to because it's already written down verbatim in a law. You know, so that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean,
Yeah,
someone want,
how do you go against the easement? You know,
Why should we go against it? Even try
even
to?
if you could, the
can't.
easement's
Yeah.
easement.
it's an
You know,
easement.
this
You know,
is
I
the-
can't.
there's the law.
It's already
That's
written down.
approved by DEP.
That's what it's there for.
The easement is the easement, and the town bylaw is the town bylaw. So you know,
So to summarize everything, Fran and I work together, we'll draft something up, provide a copy of the easement in the letter back to them. We'll review before anything gets sent out, you guys can review it. And my understanding from everything is that you,
Can we put part of the response that we would like to meet on site?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
address
Yes.
and correct these
Absolutely.
issues. which-
Yes.
And
We'd be
maybe
willing-
we can put it, in our opinion, these all can be corrected.
Yes, this is a simple fix that does not require lawyers in animosity. Let's just
Okay.
look at a problem. Let's put our heads together, come up with a beneficial solution for all, and press on.
Yeah.
so we welcome meeting with the residents without
Or
legal counsel.
representative, or whoever.
I mean, I guess it's not,
Whoever
if
they
they
want.
want, that's
If
fine.
they want-
but
if they want.
But we have no intention of
However,
having our,
These things need to be addressed.
yeah, no, we'll draft something up, the kind of response I wrote down, what you guys were talking about. But obviously, regardless of our response, whether if it's favorable or non-favorable, we still want to meet with you and work
Right.
with you.
We still have a problem. We need to.
Yes.
down the road, if we are looking to activate the public water supply, and these are issues that DEP has brought to light, they could tell us that we need to remediate these things. So I think it would be better to follow the chair's lead, and yes, have a meeting and see if there's something we can do, so that we don't have to worry and
Right.
continue to do this back and forth lawyer thing. Is ridiculous.
Settling this right now could be very beneficial to everybody. So if this ever came up in the future, it'd be like, oh no, everything's squared up.
Yeah.
We're all ship shape down there. We're good.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay,
And it could be that, like, the beach could be considered passive recreation.
That would have to be a
Is-
definition. Well, I think DEP in their sanitary survey talked about, well, the kayak rack. And
I think that was it. I mean, because did they mention the beach? I don't think they meant.
Well,
I
the beach
printed
could be
it.
considered passive recreation, but the creation of the beach would not have been,
that's
you know,
okay.
you might have to go back.
I mean, if
you know,
if
refurbish
DEP
that.
would give us a rubber stamp saying that the beach is okay, I'm fine with it.
Which
I-
can
Which is part of the
happen.
discussion you're trying to
This is
have,
what I'm
that you
saying.
can't
Like,
have
I don't want to have
third
this,
party.
Right.
be, you know, this may be a very simple solution to, but I would like, let's solve it.
And the other part of it might be that that the things that are questionable, that DEP says, you know, we're questioning the beach, we'd rather not have it. It might be that the agreement is that if we need to make this a public water supply at that time, you need to move the beach.
Sure. Once again, this could go many ways, but going back and forth like this isn't working. We have a violation. I'm all about fixing it, and it could be a rubber stamp fix, or it could be a couple minor shims and shakes here, and it's fine. But if we keep going at it like this,
We're not gonna get
no one's
anywhere.
gonna win. I saw Mr. Fortune had a question. I'm assuming it's on this topic.
It is John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I do not represent the Woodlands. However, I just want to offer maybe an option. Hinker Hills landowners does own the water, owns 1 foot above the high water mark, so a big portion of that beach is actually on Hinker Hills landowners' property. However, what we have done for people to allow swimming in an area which may not be acceptable is they have swim docks. So this area may be a place where a swim dock would be appropriate. That would have people off the property, not sitting there, I don't know what the word for unpassive is, but not, you know, they would still be passive, they'd come to the swim dock and swim there. That may be an option for people there that you might want to propose. If that's something that the commission here felt was acceptable, you may want to offer that as
Yeah.
an
It's
option.
we're up for any option.
once again, I'd
Good idea.
entertain all these. It's a very good idea that
That's-
may be a very viable option.
That's what we need, is we need to spur the conversation
Correct.
as this isn't working, how do we fix it? There's gotta be numerous ways that we can fix things.
And I mean, and we say, let's say we want to make a new beach. We'll do the beach, twice as big, whatever they want. You know, we'll make it so that maybe. All right, hold on. Maybe never mind. But I mean, we can do things that satisfy and
Correct.
correct these things without.
It doesn't have
everybody
to
will
be this
happy.
way. Yes. Thank you for that suggestion. It's nice. Okay. with citizens. Do we have anything else to add on to that?
I didn't reach out to the other groups only because we got this
Right.
letter, so I kind of wanted to address that first. As far as receiving that letter, or I'm sorry, Mr. Fortune talking at the last meeting.
Yes.
The other two groups, if the Woodlands, Joan P. signed this, so we won't reach out to her, because the Woodlands want us to go through the lawyer, but the other two groups,
Yes.
next
So,
meeting.
well, I mean-
I know.
Is here.
Yeah, no, he's here, he's
I
here.
know,
I know, and this whole thing with this letter that came to us, sorry, Mr. Chair, but.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
This whole thing with the letter that came to us, and then I see, and then Mr. Fortune comes in tonight, and I'm looking, and I'm like, you have certain things that you have concerns about, and then the Woodlands has things that they're concerned about, and then you have the community, the
Citizens
citizens for affordable clean water. And
They all the same people?
I think along the lines, though, we have to make sure we try to separate, because I don't wanna be targeting or saying something to Mr. Fortune that is a Woodlands
Issue.
issue. And again, everybody can respond and have their input, but we are dealing with three different groups.
Well,
Yeah.
and you're right.
So, and then so when we do discuss them, I agree, we have to make sure that we're sticking to the points for
Okay,
those groups.
so let's just do that then.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Mr. Fortune's letter, which he gave to us last week and read to us.
Yep.
I have some input on it. If you don't mind, I'll talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah,
You know, the summary of the letter, in conclusion, is that the Hickory Hills members, or the Hickory Hills community, is that
the landowners
Hickory
association.
Landowners Association,
Incorporated. It's a company.
yep,
Corporation.
wants to work with us. And as we've stated before, I want to work with everybody. I want to make solutions happen. I want to make this community that we love and live in flourish. In reading your letter and in seeing some of the things that are in it, it makes me kind of like feel like you don't really want to work together, and I'll point them out. As we started this whole PFAS treatment, plan, we've had meetings where we've invited people. Sometimes you've come, sometimes you haven't. During the course of this, it's really started out, I think, one time when we asked what chemicals you put in your lake for treatment of the lake, and it was responded with nothing, I believe. It just
Negative response.
Negative response. So we're not going to tell you anything. And through other avenues, we find out what it was. It's like that right there. It's like, well, okay, you didn't want to respond to that. I don't understand why. And I feel that no matter what the Lunenburg Water Department has put out or said to try to be helpful, you've taken that information and you've twisted it to your advantage. You've taken anything we've said, you've pulled out the parts that don't work for you, and you've shoved this information out there. Another one will be the Lancaster Ave wells. It was, you guys collaborated with Renee Emke, and you said that no, Lancaster wells don't need to be treated for PFAS because these are the DEP numbers for the well pumped results. Well, no one ever came and talked to us. You push that scenario out there when it's not true. Yes, those individual wells put out this amount of water, but they never can be run like that, and therefore they can never meet the PFAS minimum requirement. So that there was just a lie pushed out. It was the same thing when it came to the funding. We had the funding to do all this, and it was brought up during meetings and everything that, well, you don't really have the money yet. We have the money. We had the capability to collect that money to put it towards this. But once again, it was pushed out that, well, they don't really have it yet. Okay, these are all things that were pushed out by your group, and that to me is not working together. It doesn't show good faith. It doesn't show anything. So when you come here with this letter and you say we want to work together, well, like, I've been trying to work with you the whole time, but I don't feel like it's reciprocated. You didn't want the well down on the Woodlands property down with the treatment plant down there. We came up with we thought was a great solution to not have that there. It made financial sense. It made sense for the town. And once again, it's all been met with pushback, okay? So that's just my personal thoughts on this, and that's how I felt going through this. I feel like we've tried to reach out and be forthcoming, positive. During the PFAS education campaign that we had, we put out there like, hey, you know what, let's have one night for Hickory Hills residents, as they were 90% of the people who were concerned about PFAS. Joan Pease put on Facebook, don't go to that Hickory Hills residents, go to the other one. We're part of the town too. Of course you're part of the town, but we all know that you can sit through these meetings for 4 hours till 10 o'clock at night, and we want to make sure that everybody had proper time to get any questions they wanted in. That, to me, doesn't seem like working together. It's how I feel. Anything to add, other members?
No, I mean, I talked about separation of groups when we first started this, but this was a collaboration of all three of those groups together. So what do you,
Well, not
You know-
necessarily. This is.
Well, I forwarded,
no.
I forwarded this letter to the Woodlands lawyers, and his response was, we work with him for the Woodlands. So I'm assuming we take Joan Pease off of this, because the lawyer said in his email, I discussed our conversation with the clients at the Woodlands, and they want the written response to me, which was the lawyer. So to me, I'm the way I took that email is that the Woodlands doesn't
So
want.
we shouldn't be talking to the other two on that list, because that, they're directed to the other one.
So each one of them should get their own attorney, each group.
Well, look,
Well,
at
they
one
do.
of them's here and he isn't part of that group,
Oh,
so if
okay.
we'd like to address him,
But-
Yeah,
by all
no, I
means.
understand, but if you're gonna talk to the other ones, you know, the way you talk to the one who sends us the lawyer's letters,
Look at,
if they're not part of it, they gotta get them, send us a letter
well,
too.
right now.
Well, this is the letter.
We can
from
focus
him.
on
I
this
think
letter
it's
right
just-
now.
Yeah.
With the one individual who signed it, that's here. That's okay?
I agree.
Would you like to add anything, Mr. Fortune?
I would. So, again, John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive, now representing Hickory Hills Landowners, Inc. And I'd like to I'll address many of your points, but I would also like to start by, Commissioner Woodward and I also spoke after the meeting last time.
Mhm.
And we talked a lot about these things and the concerns that both of us had. And I think that was probably the best part of the last meeting, right? So I'm glad that you agree. because
Absolutely.
we both
It's a
agree.
great conversation.
So the DEP numbers, you brought up the DEP numbers. Actually, concurrently, but people within the lake and the community went to DEP. All your numbers, all your data is available on DEP. That data became available to the people in the community, and that's the data that was represented now. It's the data that you provided, and since, as we talked last meeting, I now better understand how you actually run the wells, but at the, that's the data that's there. And just for the public, the way that the data is put up in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fran, because if I'm wrong, I want to know. The data is accumulated together. There was I guess a test or something that was done with a congregation, with 4 wells running at the same time, I believe is how that was done. There was a sample done, and that was submitted to DEP. Is that correct? Is that the number that they
Correct,
had?
that's how they tell us the sample. to be.
Okay, so that's how they told us. So that's the data that they had, which was below the 4 parts per trillion.
In most
That-
cases,
that
not
data
always.
was. In most cases, right? And then the way DEP defines it, it has to be done every quarter, and it has to be multiple quarters in a row. I don't exactly remember how it was. So, I know you feel that there was some violation because the data we got from DEP was not the way that you actually run the wells. But at the time, we didn't know that. Could we have called? Absolutely. But in my mind, that's kind of silly. The data is there. It's Lunenburg Water District data that was provided to the DEP, and that's the data we found. We didn't make it up. We didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary. We just simply took the data and presented that back. So, yes, now I understand that the wells are actually run 2 at a time, and, some of the wells are worse than others. That's fine, but at the time, we didn't know.
And I understand that, but this is where the working together isn't working.
We weren't working together then. I will tell you that. We were very much so opposed to each other, and it failed, right? So I have come to you, and I came to you in good faith last meeting to say, we have a PFAS problem. We all agree with that. That's something we can all agree on. I don't care what side you're on, we have a PFAS problem, and it needs to be addressed. The solution that you provided last time did not get approved. I am willing to help, and I am only an influencer. I don't vote for everybody, I'm a single vote. But I'm an influencer to a group of people that may be able to help. Now, if in the end, I cannot say that I will or will not, but I am willing to work with you if we are willing to sit at the table and talk about it. And then
Can I-
talk about the other couple of things.
I have one question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Why now? Why come to us, why now? Why wasn't this 6 months ago, 8 months ago? Like,
Because you're spending our money and it's failing. It's our money, right? Our collective money that's being spent on these proposals and we're failing. And rather than keep spending the collective money of the water takers on issues that are gonna fail, let's work together and find a way to get them to pass.
but why didn't you feel that way 8 months ago?
I'm not sure why I didn't feel that way. I don't have a good answer
Okay.
to that. You right?
All right, sorry.
So,
Continue on.
I'm here now. You talked about the money. You felt that you had the money in place. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I will tell you the biggest problem that I had personally was the amount of money each individual was going to pay. So we talked about that. In a letter just before the vote, the commissioners put out in the Lunenburg Ledger a set of numbers. Fran, days later, days before, right around the same time, when we went to the select board meeting, had a different set of numbers that were presented. The numbers were very different. Fran's number was $100 more or something like that per user, plus bigger user fees. Your numbers were $300 or $400 a quarter or something. That's what it was going to be.
So I'm gonna answer that question. So those numbers were broken down very specifically into is if we did option A, option B, with funding that we would receive or not. And also, and even just how you address me on that, whether you guys had the funding or not, we don't know. Like, that's what I'm talking about. See, that statement right there creates doubt. And that's what's often been happening on the other side of the aisle is when we say something, it gets immediately rebutted with doubt. Even right there, you didn't admit fully, like, John, did we have the money to do that project? Did we have the grant?
Well,
Yes or no?
I don't believe you finally had the grant. I don't believe
See,
you had
well,
the final
that
number,
right there is-
Did you? Did you have
Yes,
the letter from the
yes,
state that
absolutely.
$2 million was approved?
A
Is all
110% had it.
At what interest rate?
0.
0%.
Okay.
Can you get it cheaper than
That
that?
was not stated at the select
That
board
was
meeting.
ironclad
It
stated
was stated,
multiple times.
Okay.
And it was, once again, but like that. Oh, I don't know if they really have the money. You know, it's like the classic story you can make up. Be like, the front page, mayor beats his wife. Okay? 2 days later, oh, sorry, mayor didn't beat his wife. She fell, or whatever it may be. The mayor's a wife beater. From here on out, even though the story is 100% false, this is a classic way to do things. You put a little bit of doubt in and you twist it, and that's what I'm talking about. This is what we've been dealing with the whole time.
Do you mind sharing that letter with everybody that you have from the state? That
On the-
says you had the $32 million. Do you mind sharing that?
I
Yeah,
thought we already did.
yeah, it has been multiple
I sent
times,
it
but I
to
can
the
send it to you
selectmen.
again.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be
So in other
great.
words, you don't believe it still?
No,
I'm just saying, would you just share it? I'm a data person.
Absolutely.
Just
respond
share
to that
on
on
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, Fred.
So on the fee structure, okay, so, the way I took it, I took the one lump sum number and I used the high number. I didn't use the
Understood.
contingencies, the biggest number that it would ever be. And I used that number and I divided by every customer, okay? And then one of the groups, wanted to know how much the water bills were, so they called the sewer. So for all the water bills, which is kind of crazy, not calling us, so they kind of went the back door to get the bills. So that's when I started looking at, all right, well, let me start looking at it per what actual bills were, you know, and doing the minimum charge and the usage and running different numbers to see what the actual bill would be. And that's when I started comparing the water rates to the sewer rates. And that's how that got to that. But all my responses usually came from someone asking a question. well, why didn't you use the bond rate of this? Okay, well, there it is. So everybody's like, oh, your numbers keep changing. Because see, everybody asks a different way to see it. So there it is. And then everybody was all upset that, well, why'd you use that high number? I'm like, I'd rather use a high number and come in low. I don't ever want to say, hey, I want to go buy a truck, it's $25,000 and then it comes in at 50. I'd rather say, hey,
Sure.
I'm buying a $50,000 truck and it comes in at 25. That's how I want to do it. So anyway, that's why the numbers kept changing.
So I will tell you, in the end, what you told us at the select board meeting was a connection fee of $100, somewhere around
It was
$100, $120
minimum
or
fee.
something like that.
Yeah,
Minimum
120,
fee,
yeah.
plus a high user fee. You
Higher
said the
users,
user's
yeah.
fee would be much higher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the more you
Which-
use, the more you're gonna pay.
Which seems, well, yeah, exactly, per unit, per user, whoever it is, right? If you're using more water, your cost should be higher,
Right.
right? And the connection fee for everybody, I don't care who they are,
It's
should
the
be the
same.
same.
It's-
And
In
that's
my
what it would,
opinion, you
yep.
know, so I think that's a much better structure than taking the whole thing, peanut buttering across just the users, right? At a number, and that was the number that was presented in the Lunenburg Ledger. Right, so I agree with your last process, but in the end, both things were presented within a week. I mean, it was all similar timing.
So John, when we send you that letter verifying the loan and everything, what's your plans with it?
Yeah, I just want to see it. I want to see. how
Does
the
any
state
of
does
your
it.
other
I wanna
members
what
want to
does it.
see it? Maybe you should show it to them?
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, what are we sending it for? We're gonna send it to
We have it, you can have
Yeah,
it.
that's up to you. If
We
you don't
can
want
have
to send it, don't send it.
We've sent it out
That's fine.
before, it's public.
No, I'm
Yeah.
It's
more
on
than
all
willing to
clerks.
send it. Let's send one to everybody, so they all know
If they
what's
come
going
ask for
on.
it, I'll send one to everybody, sure. Continue, John, I think you have more questions.
I think there's still a question, and again, I could be wrong about the cost of maintaining this facility, whatever the facility is.
Okay.
Both the facilities, right? What is the cost of maintaining it? The yearly cost, so, because that's part of our payment structure, we need to know. We
Absolutely.
need to know what that is. And again, I think what you're doing now, getting the final information together from the Hickory Hills well, from the Lancaster well, from the heating well, all good information.
Sure.
And we'll know.
Well,
right?
yep.
And then the Hickory Hills residents meeting. You said we were talking that a person other than myself was directing people to go to a different meeting. That is not on me, that's on another person.
She signed that letter, though, on that letter, this, you gave me, she's a
Yeah,
signature on
yeah,
it, so.
I'm not saying that she wasn't, she is.
That's why I
We were
brought
talking
that
about
up.
these things at the time. And finally, I will say, to Chrissy's question last time and this time, if the Woodlands wants to work through a lawyer, the Woodlands should work through a lawyer, and you should work that way with them. I don't represent the Woodlands, I represent Hickory Hills Landowners Inc. And the Woodlands is just a portion of that group of people. All right?
Fair enough.
So they work the way that they would like to work. That's
Okay.
probably the
Yep.
best way. And I think you folks already said you want to break it up, talk to different individuals.
Well, I mean, I guess
So
it,
when-
That's the way to do it.
When you would mention it last time, you said,
I knew nothing about the letter when this was sent.
Oh, no, okay, no, no, I'm just
So
asking.
I didn't know anything about it.
but when you came and read the letter, you were reading it on behalf of the 3 signatures. So
Correct.
you now know Joan,
I now
Has
know,
that-
yep.
do you know if Bobby Turkington from the Lunenburg Citizens, should I reach out to her separately to find out
I would-
if I'm including her, or do you know?
I
Has
would-
she
I would
expressed
reach
to
out
you
her
what
specifically.
she wants?
I'd reach out to her specifically.
Then, okay.
I don't wanna speak
So
for
going
everybody else.
forward, for right now, we will just reach out to you as the Hickory Hills landowners, and then everybody separate. Is that,
Correct.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
well, I got you here. In general, as you are the representative for the Hickory Hills community, which is, you know, once again, I feel sometimes we go back and forth. I love Hickory Hills. I love the lake. I love going down there, seeing kids riding their bikes, fishing poles. It's a great place. No one here wants to destroy it, take it negatively. It's part of the Lunenburg. It's the Whalen Park of the state. You know what I'm saying? It's us. You talk to everybody down there. What is the reason that they don't want the well turned on in general? If you can answer that.
I will summarize it as I have done before, but I'll summarize it again. This is our backyard. We want it to be as full as it can be in the summer when we use it. And anytime there is excess water running over the dam, there is excess water in the lake. And if Lunenburg Water District wants to use the water, or the water flows downstream to the Mulpus, The residents don't really, it doesn't bother them one way or the other. Right, there's always water flowing through the bulbous, so that's important and it's critical, and that's why we talked the 6-inch pipe is running. So there is some water flowing all the time. There's water flows under the dam, around the dam, etc. But people want their recreation. And when the water is not flowing over the dam, then the water in the lake is what people want. And if people start running into sandbars and things like that in the lake, it is gonna be because the well is running, so.
But we know that that's not true.
We know that happens
We know
without the
that
well running.
happens. We know that happens without the well running, that's true. But what we don't have is data that shows how much, when the well is running, it will affect the lake. We don't have that data. We asked for that data before the last set of testing that was done for the well, but we still don't have that data.
We're currently
Until we do,
we're still currently working to try to monitor lake levels, but conservation won't let us put anything in the lake.
I thank you for that answer. It's just been kind of wanting it up.
Yep.
So,
I would echo your comments as far as the lake, and I mean, it's not my intention. I grew up down there. I still go down there, and I understand the recreation. It's not my intention, but it's, you know, there's that middle road that I'm talking about. It's not the, hey, you can do it if there's water running over the dam. Well, there's still a need for water, and there's still residents down there taking water. How about when it's not flowing over the dam, we can only pump what you use as residents down there? Because back in the day, everybody had a well down there, and everybody was pumping the groundwater anyway. So what's the difference to us at least returning the water that users down there are currently using?
I think the biggest concern is water that goes out of the watershed, and goes out of the town, quite frankly. I followed yet another water truck up through New Ipswich.
Yeah.
From here the other day, right? They filled up here, water from Lunenburg is getting put into somebody's pool in New Ipswich. You know, it's like, okay, that's a frustration. If I'm on my lake and I'm running into sandbars because we're selling water, you know, to people so they can have a great swimming pool experience in New Ipswich. I mean, so, yes. But there is concern about that.
That could still be happening whether we would, well, the well's not on and that still happens. So you admit that. The lake level drops in the summertime, regardless.
The lake level goes up and down, yes, that's a natural
Regardless.
occurrence. Yep, no,
Yeah.
right. And
So-
what I have said, and I apologize if I'm not being clear, but until we know how the effect of the well running affects the water level of the lake, then we don't know how much the well is going to take the water down in the lake.
so
So
my
we don't know.
concern a little bit with that is, and I understand where you're coming from. I feel that if it was the Lunenburg Water Department that put that, you know, obviously we can't do it, but we hired a firm to do it, that it would be our results that say this. That's just what I'm saying. I feel like if we did that, so let's say we hired Time Bond to do this. I'm just making up a name to monitor the lake levels.
Okay.
I feel that it wouldn't have any credibility because we hired them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Real data is real data. Right?
Oh, I agree.
Real data-
I agree.
real data that
I
you
know,
gave-
but it's
the
how.
real data that you gave to DEP was the real data.
I
right?
understand.
That is what you gave,
but
and that's the data we use.
but if from what I've seen and what I've experienced here, I feel that the words would come out. Yeah, well, they had their guy do it. That's how I feel.
I told you before, we use Time Bond for our work that we do on the
Sure,
dam.
I'm making up Time Bond, but like if we hired somebody to do that, I feel that it would be said. Yeah, well, the Lunenburg got their guys to monitor the lake. Just letting you know. I mean,
Am I missing something? How do you monitor the lake level if the well's not running?
Well, we can still get a baseline how the lake reacts during the summertime.
Yeah, but you're not gonna know how much water you're gonna pump out of the well, so how do you know if it's gonna affect the lake? If it's not running, you know,
we'll crank that thing up.
It's my understanding that before the well was put online, there was a comprehensive test done, well pumping study. They have little test wells all around to
Oh, yeah.
determine
Yeah.
how the
Yeah.
water reacts. And there's that sticking point in this report that's this big, that everybody says, in these conditions, it could affect lake levels.
Yep.
And that's what you, and yeah,
That's the data that we have, right?
Could.
that's
So
the
do you know
current
what's-
data.
could.
That's the current data.
Could. You know
And
what-
it's one sentence in a, like 100-page report. And how that has come up in discussions, that report was made by a professional for DEP to interpret. And from my understanding, that's, you know, in those conditions where we affect lake levels, it's considering the lake is
A toilet.
a toilet bowl. Well,
There's
not
also
even, because there's an
100
outlet on a toilet bowl.
100
There's
days without rain
Oh,
is
100
what's in
days
there.
without rain.
That's
So,
without rain.
like,
That'd be
an event
catastrophic.
that has never
Right.
happened, we could affect lake levels. And if you're coming in here as a resident and
Who
saying,
has read the report,
yep,
word for word.
all
many
100
times.
pages,
There's not 100 pages, there's 100 pages of report. The Dunn Geoscience portion of it is about 26 pages long that you're talking about, and that talks exactly about the area that you now have as an easement, and the well test that they did there.
Yeah.
And so, yes, so you're talking about a portion of the 100-page report.
and the hydrogeologist that we talked to was pretty much the top dog in the state. Like, everybody goes to this one guy, and he was part of that report. And did you guys reach out to him to get maybe a little bit more of a layman's explanation on it? Because we reached out to him, and he said he would come to one of our meetings and explain it all. And we offered that, and, you know, so that people could understand, like, if I read an engineer's report, I'm probably not gonna understand everything that's in it. I'm gonna need it to be broken down for me a little bit and ask the plain question. And we asked him the plain question, and he said, you know, running that well is it's more likely than not going to affect lake levels.
Lake drops more by evaporation than the operation of the lake.
Right.
So if you don't believe that report, how are you gonna monitor the lake levels by running the well?
But I think I'm all in favor of monitoring the lake levels. And
So am
agree.
I, but how are you gonna do it? That's what I wanna know. How are you gonna do
Well,
it?
we have to figure that out. But I
Well,
mean,
you can't figure it out unless you run the well.
So that.
But no, but
when
if we have the base level data and then we turn the well on, and I want to put this real live time on the internet. So if John wants to go and look on, hey, what's the lake level? What's the well pumping at? Okay, and we watch the lake. Hey, the well ran for 10 hours and it pumped, I don't know, 300,000 gallons. What's the lake level after it shut off?
Where you
It's
gonna
the same.
pump it to?
Well, no, if we'll be pumping in the system, if the thing was online.
Well,
But I
if
mean,
it was
but we have the
online,
data
but it's not
before.
online. Let's be really, it's not
I know, but
online.
But you're saying
no
you
lie,
won't-
eventually that well's going online.
Oh,
People
I'm sure
won't
it
hear
is.
That well's going on.
But will the residents not allow
So what we
that well
asked
to go
for
online until
before-
the data is done? Because,
So what Hickory Hills had asked for before the October 22nd vote was for, and we were gonna pump 20,000 gallons a day, I think is what the numbers were, Time Bond proposed originally, their original proposal.
In the
What we had
tight-
asked
in the-
for was that to be pumped out of the watershed. Right, and so and so we would have gotten the data that said, okay, if you pump 20,000 gallons a day out of the watershed, and you monitor the lake level, and you monitor the rain and all the rest of it, you'll have an idea of whether it's going to affect the lake levels or not.
Well-
And the water district chose not to do that.
Is that the
No, that's
discharge that they were gonna pipe down over the dam?
That's, okay, that's.
Cost us $1
it
million?
wasn't what you just asked for. You
That's
wanted
what
a
we
full
asked for.
pump rate, discharged downstream from the well.
Yep.
So we would have to run a pipe miles down to the dam and discharge down there.
It's
You
not-
asked,
Not miles, but you would have to run some way to get it outside of the.
Oh.
so
out of the
you
watershed.
asked for something that is impossible to do.
Well, it's
not
not
a-
impossible, but the money that
Financially,
financially,
if they
yes.
wanna pay for it, we'd be happy to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking probably $1.5 million to do
Right.
what he's asking for.
Yeah.
So to me, that's impossible. To me, when it was asked to us, it was asked because they knew it was impossible.
Right, to get it outside of the watershed, so just understand that, we would now have to install a pipe going
You would either
around the
install
lake.
pipe, you would install a fire hose or some flexible hose along the bottom of the lake to get it down over the dam. There are ways that could be done.
You wanna pay for it, John?
So
hold on,
conservation
yeah, yeah.
won't allow us to put stick in the lake,
Right.
monitor the lake level. They're gonna allow us to lay a
We
pipe.
pumped it outside of it
That
and
was
got
what we asked for,
Right.
and that didn't get done.
Well, so, but
and
so no.
here's where we are.
But here's
Why
the-
don't we
but-
pump it to the
no,
moon? That'll
Hold on,
take
hold
care
on,
of it.
hold on. It's the context here.
Yeah.
So this is exactly where we need to kind of get in the middle. So you're like hardlined right here. We asked for this and you didn't do this. That's because, John, we can't run a pipe a mile away for a reasonable cost. We sure as hell can't run it across the bottom of the lake. We'd get shot for that. I mean, we couldn't even pump it outside. We couldn't do. So it's not that we didn't want to work with you, support you, agree with you. It's just we financially can't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So that's what I'm talking about. You can't be like, well, they didn't want to do it, so that goes to show. Well, we can't.
Okay, so then how do we know, without the well running, because once the well gets up and running, there's no way it's shutting down, right? So I will tell you that the residents are going to be against the well running until we know how it affects the.
Why don't you give us the answer? Get together with your gang and give us some answers. Get them all together and come up with some answers for
I
us.
fully support, because I mean, we've said it plenty,
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it probably 100 times. I fully support limited use during the dry season.
So do I.
I don't, so I
And if we-
think this is another spot where I think we can work this out.
I think we can too.
You know?
Right, I agree with you, I think it's workable. I think it's
But
workable.
didn't we already agree to do that? Put a measuring stick somewhere in the
We
water,
did agree to it.
and we were going to turn it on and turn it off according to the level of the lake. They were going to monitor the levels and tell us when we were down to where we were supposed to
Hold on a
shut.
second. John is right. In our initial proposal,
That's
that
right.
we had said that we were going to put staff gauge or some
Yeah.
lake monitoring levels in that. And then things went a little askew when we started
whole
doing the
testing
whole
went crazy.
testing got thrown out because we could no longer pump it to the way we have been
Toxic
for 100 years.
Yep.
And it was all, that was a lot of kickback on your end to us, and we had to spend more money and reroute everything. And then during that procedure, that portion of it didn't happen. So you're right. Okay?
Okay,
Do you know why that didn't happen? Why they didn't agree with that? I mean, that's what they all talked about. Putting a leveling, a monitoring stick, the footage in the water, and even the engineer. We were going to hire an engineer to go down there and test it and check it and measure it and monitor it and write it all down. And
Loggers, yeah.
Loggers.
yeah, it never happened.
wait a minute, so you're telling me that we were gonna somehow figure out how the well was gonna affect the lake levels by pumping water out and back into the lake?
No.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't gonna work.
That's why it was
that's why it wasn't gonna
Right,
work.
So that's what was gonna happen. So yes, that was never gonna work.
Right.
We all agree with that.
Yeah, we agree.
We should all agree with
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because it was we're not gonna make a difference.
But
So
there's that middle ground that we talked about. And, you say, pump all the water you want until it goes over the dam. We were looking for some sort of, okay, when it doesn't go over the dam, what can we do? Because we are still gonna have to do something. We're willing to, if we had water other spots in the summertime, and we could, I'm sure Fran would definitely be amenable to using the other supplies. If you say, hey Fran, the lake's getting pretty low, it's a dry summer, you think maybe we could pump our water from somewhere else? If we had that capability, 100% we would. And that's where Fran mentioned that that's where we got hung up on. If it's not going over the dam, we can't pump. There's gotta be something that we can work towards.
That kind of ties how Mark was saying, because you got all the residents down there, they all have septic systems, they all use that water, let's say, so they all use 100,000 gallons a day. Okay, so there's 100,000, so if we pump that well 100,000 gallons a day, they're returning the exact amount of water back to the lake.
So that goes through their septic.
So we're status quo, so that's kind of where Mark was going. So let's say that area uses 100,000 gallons a day, and we agree that we can run that well 1 day a week for whatever, 700,000, again, making up numbers. 700,000 gallons, we can run it 1 day a week, okay? Boom, we can work with that. Now we flush that whole line, everything stays non-stagnant, we just keep things functioning. But in agreement that we're doing this because the lake, we don't want to cause any impacts to the lake. So that's why I think if we sit down and we say, hey, come up with real numbers.
Right.
You come up with yours, we'll come up with ours. Hey, let's agree on this number, and we can work it out.
Right, but like just to not use it for 2 months may not be something that's feasible for us. But we'd be willing to, I don't know, figure something.
You have to keep a certain amount of water flowing through the pipes to keep it clean.
Yeah, so I think we can work this
I understand
out.
how it works.
But we said that, and then it just never, it, for some reason, it never flourished. It was if you're not gonna, you know. if
The
it's
past
not-
8
not
months
gonna
went
advance.
pretty sideways for me.
Yeah.
I don't think anything we could have said would have fixed it. But, you know, look, I'm willing to go to the table again and start over.
Come back.
Look it up.
And I'm willing to work.
Okay.
Now, we can, or we can keep focused on the past and what didn't work then and why it failed and everything else, and we'll continue this way
Sure.
forever. Or we can sit down to the table, we can go through it and figure out what works best for everybody.
I
So
would be happy to do that.
I think we designate a time, either we do it as a board or maybe we do it outside. I know you said later meetings will be
Later
better, so
together,
maybe we do it as a board, whatever, but I mean, I think a lot of these things is, you know, we could say,
Yeah.
we have, just like, oh, we have to come and say, no, this isn't happening, and that's the end of the discussion.
Correct.
Like the zone one, I mean, zone one, DEP does with zone one, we can't, there's no change in that. So I mean, so there's things that we say, hey, this is not us, you know? So-
All right. Well, let's do this. If you wouldn't mind, John, if you could
I don't
just,
mind as long as it works. I'm
you-
more than willing to do anything to make it work.
if you could jot down a simple email or just a wish list of like, we would like to see this, this, and this. If you could get that to us, and then maybe we can kind of prepare like numbers wise and stuff, and we can sit down with a meeting and be like, okay, you would like this, our data shows this, how about this? You know what I'm saying? If you could just come up with a
So
wish list,
Yeah,
right?
so maybe his list is 25 things. Well, let's focus on these 5 already.
Right, I mean, let's
And
just,
we'll work-
you know,
we'll work our
a
way.
general consensus of, you know, the lake people being like, I want this, this, and these are my top 5 things I want. And these are the, you know, if we could let's start with that, and let's use the data that we have and be like, okay, we found that traditionally Hickory Hills area district uses X amount of gallons a day. If we pumped it, blah, 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 would that be satisfactory even in the driest of times, you know, as a minimum to keep the well going? And then, you're right, in the winter months when it's wet as anything.
In the driest of times,
Right.
the lake's gonna be low no matter what,
Correct.
whether we're pumping the well.
But
or
once
not.
again, and like, I get it, like it's happened where you've had like a catastrophic low lake level, and if I lived on that lake and I had to pay those taxes, I'd be like, hey, the pontoon bone's getting hung up and I'm not happy about it, and I'd be dropping my beer. I'd be mad too, and I get it. So if we could start there, does that seem like a good place to start? And maybe we can,
And Fran, you're open if I have some questions for you in the meantime? Can I contact you?
Oh yeah, fire. Yeah, any question? Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Fire
John,
away.
why is there one of them pipes running down there now taking water over the dam?
he's got a good answer for it.
I just want to hear it.
It keeps water flowing in the multis. So we have to make sure, right, part of our requirement is to make sure.
And one pipe,
You got to maintain a stream.
oh yeah, for
The
the
dam
life.
doesn't have a gate, or,
It does, that in particular does. It also helps to pull the phosphorus off the bottom of the lake.
oh,
That's also what it's doing. So that is the deepest pipe, goes the deepest in the lake and helps to pull the phosphorus off the bottom.
Hey, I'm just kind of curious, random question, like, do you ever shut that off? Is there a way to shut it off?
Yeah, it's about to fall apart, actually.
I mean, well, like, I'm assuming you have to like establish a siphon to get it back over?
Yeah, you have to plug the low end, and we use suction. We basically suck the air out of the
Okay.
pipe to suck water in.
Yeah, and then you
to
can-
restart them. That's how
gotcha.
we start all the pipes. It's
Okay.
actually not my idea, but it's kind of a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it is.
Put it together.
kind of how a fire truck
Worked as
works,
well.
pumping a dry hydrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you get the pickup lower than the
Right.
discharge,
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
work.
Always wondered that, just trying to buy like.
Like stealing gas out of your car.
Out of my car, that was someone else's.
Well, your wife's car.
It's, don't worry, there's none in there.
The only other thing I would like to add to it, I mean, we've offered some of these things in the past. Some things we can't have a binding thing that binds us to do this, but we can always set up a general operating procedure. I think that sometimes your group and other groups are asking for too much of a guarantee, and nothing's guaranteed, unfortunately.
I will tell you that we all know that none of you three are gonna stay there forever. Fran's not gonna be here forever. Christie's not gonna be here forever. So it's difficult to say, well, a gentleman's agreement, it'll be a gentleman's agreement. That is a difficult thing to swallow.
Understood.
So
I-
can we
But I
do-
think we need to get to where we need to go.
Sure.
And then we'll start on that hurdle.
Right, maybe we can put a policy letter, or correct. I believe that that is a hurdle that we do all need to overcome, but let's let the horses run for a while.
It's always gonna be residents that are involved though. So there's always gonna be the people that you put here, that are elected, that you should be able to work with without a problem. And that's my frustration level for me. I've lived in this town my whole life, and I've had more conflict with people that I care to over these types of issues. And I'm starting to like, wow, are these the people I thought they were? Or am I doing something wrong? Do they not believe me? That, and how I feel about the community and what I've given to the community? It makes it tough. And I think we see it in a lot of boards in town. There's a lot more aggression and I guess more attacks, I would say, on
Yeah.
boards than there should be. People should be able to have conversations and be able to trust it. It's just your neighbor making the same decisions. You residents vote to put me here. So I am gonna try to do my best for what's best for the residents, but at the same time, I have to do what's best for the district takers as well. So I have to take everybody's comments and feelings and what they look for and try to do the best I can with it. So, and I don't like it when there were a lot of attacks both sides, and I'm done doing that.
Well, I can't believe it how the people in town have changed since I was young. It's a completely different mindset, completely bunch of different people. It's nothing like it was 40, 50, 30, 20 years ago. I don't know.
But it still ain't bad. I'll tell you that.
No, it could be worse, but I don't know, see how.
Could be a lot of places. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Sir.
Anything else, Mr. Fortune?
No, I just actually do like to follow up with Mr. Bursch as well. I'm also on different boards, right? I represent people in a bunch of different places. I don't disagree with you at all. That yes, it's not simple. My wife and I are both very involved in the town, and it's not always easy.
Yep.
But I think what's important is that, personally, we keep our own morals, we do the right thing, what we believe in the right things, and maybe it's not the right thing for everybody, but it's what we feel is right. And that's the best we can do. We all give our time freely, basically, as you are doing. I realize there's a small pittance of money that's given, but whatever, it's nothing compared to the amount of time you give. So.
I second that.
And I'm questioning whether that's the reason you haven't called me back. The other thing we talked about, I'm still waiting for that.
Well, I'll get you.
All right, Commissioner, Superintendent, Clerk, Treasurer additions.
I just got a couple things. AT&T cellular contract on Chase Road
Yep.
is going to expire in like 2 or 3 years. It's a couple years down the road. But AT&T is pushing. They want to modify their rental rate, monthly rate. What's their rate now? $4,600 a month.
4,300, over 4.
They want to raise it?
They want to drop it to 3,300. And they want to change the escalator from 4% to 3%, which is what we did with T-Mobile. We agreed to that. And they wanted me to ask you guys, do you support the 3,300? And to me, yeah, I've never seen you guys drop the rate. I mean, for them to go and say, all right, we're moving out, they're gonna go spend tons of money to go relocate to
That's
another site.
I mean, I can negotiate, but that's
Yeah.
them.
So, but on the flip side of that, not necessarily maybe tied to AT, we got an open spot there. And, I mean, we could put an RFP out now with no dollar amounts on it, bid as you want, and see what we get.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, cause I gotta do that anyway, so.
When was the last time we raised their rates?
We don't raise them, they increase yearly
Correct.
on their own.
On
Yeah.
a percentage,
Contract.
yeah.
We go through it.
4%.
Yeah, we go through it every year when we do our budget. Like it's our automatic.
4%.
So, I'd love to put the R. How much time do we have for this with the AT&T? When do
For them, we have a couple of years till their contract's up.
Okay.
I mean, they just want to get an answer now.
Well, can you pause them, delay them, and I would love to put that RFP out and just let's test the waters. I mean,
what we're
I'm
gonna
with
get.
you. Like, I don't. Excuse me, has those rates changed dramatically? I mean,
Well, T-Mobile, they agreed to pay, was it $4,300 a month? You know, they signed it. We just did a new RFP with them.
all right. I mean,
So-
no, I'm not gonna drop to 3,300.
I
But then
think-
again,
But
I don't want.
I was working with KP Law on a RFP to do it because we have the open site.
Yep.
And so yeah, maybe we just put that out there. Maybe we'll get more, 2 or 3 people, and they're gonna compete
It's
on
gonna,
it.
yeah,
That's-
I also don't want to lose that revenue. That's
but we have a couple
that's-
years.
Yeah, we have a couple years. All right. Well, let's
Yeah, and if they
Put a
do
pin in that.
terminate
put a pin in
before,
that one.
I got one more thing. We had a lightning strike on Lancaster Ave.
Yes.
I know with all the talk and stuff, I don't want to come like I'm making stuff up, but lightning strike blew out wells 2 and 4. The parts, it's the VFDs, the startup controllers, no longer made. So now we're changing them. Did they come in today? We ordered new ones. So
did not
anyway,
see
so
anything
we've been
come in.
down for about a week and a half now for those 2 wells.
Yeah.
So just wanted to say that.
Have we got any lightning rods or anything down there?
Well, it's tough with lightning because
It's the
lightning goes
wires.
to ground.
Yeah.
And what's a better ground than
A
a
big pipe sticking through it.
steel pipe in the ground? So that's when it gets struck, it goes
Yeah.
it goes through everything it
Yeah.
can get through to get to that well.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't. I mean, it's happened
Okay.
quite a few times. Not quite.
It's the least resistance, and
Yeah.
that well is the least resistant.
Oh yeah.
That's what-
Lightning's like, whew.
So,
All right.
so it's tough. So. But anyway, they should be going pretty soon.
Okay. I
Good.
got nothing. You good?
I'm good.
Me too.
Me too. Any more public comment? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Will do.